The ground split open beneath the Oregon pines that night, and my world ended with it. I'd spent 4 years in silence, hiding from people, from my past, from everything human. Then a crimson ship fell from the sky, bleeding light like a dying heart. Inside was her, not a monster, not an angel, something in between. She said she was a fugitive from the stars, and that I wasn't as human as I thought. I didn't believe her, until she used my blood to create a new species. If that opening gave you chills, you're going to want to stick around because this story only gets stranger. Hit like if you love deep, human-centered sci-fi. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story that'll bend your idea of what humanity really means. And hey, share this one with a friend who loves a good humans are the monsters twist, because trust me, they'll thank you later. The first thing that hit me wasn't the sound. It was the silence, the kind that comes before something ancient and terrible wakes up. Then the mountains roared. The entire cabin shook like God had thrown a punch into the earth itself. Plates crashed from the shelves, the lights flickered, and my dog Ash let out that low, bone-deep growl wolves make when they remember predators older than fire. For a moment, I thought it was an earthquake, but the tremor wasn't coming from below. It came from the sky. Through the window, the night flashed red. Not lightning, not fire. Something alive. A burning line cut across the clouds like a sword of molten metal, ending somewhere beyond the ridge, and then silence again. That was when I knew. Whatever fell out there wasn't human. I grabbed my rifle off the wall. Not because I expected to use it. 4 years alone in the Oregon wilderness had already taught me that pulling a trigger is the last thing you want to do. But because walking out there unarmed felt like suicide dressed as courage. The air outside was sharp enough to bite through my parka. April in the mountains pretends to be spring, but every breath still freezes your lungs. The forest around me was black and still, except for a path of devastation ahead. Pine trees ripped from the soil, bark shredded, and a trail of steam rising from the earth. Ash padded beside me, ears flat, every muscle coiled. He didn't bark this time. That's when I got scared. 2 kilometers out, I found the crater. The ground still smoked, glowing faintly like an open wound, and in its heart rested something impossible. A ship the size of a fighter jet, red like rusted blood, its blue turbines beating in slow, dying pulses, like the heartbeat of a machine that refused to die. I should have turned around right there. Every cell in my body screamed leave. But curiosity, that stupid human disease, held me in place. A low hum began, so deep I felt it in my teeth. Then, with a hiss of steam, a side panel slid open. The air filled with the scent of ozone and burning metal, and violet light poured from inside like fog. And she was there. She fell out of the ship like a shadow given form, skin pale as porcelain, hair dark, and eyes. God, those eyes. They glowed purple, like twin suns behind frost. She looked at me, not with fear, but with recognition, as if she'd been expecting me. Then she collapsed. I stood there, rifle trembling in my hands, torn between instinct and empathy. Run, my brain said. Help her, my heart said. In the end, humanity won. I lifted her. She was warm, too warm, and carried her back toward the cabin, leaving behind a trail of blood that shimmered faintly gold beneath the moonlight. By the time we reached the cabin, her breathing was shallow, ragged, mechanical almost, like an engine trying to restart underwater. Ash refused to come inside. He stood at the door, whining, tail tucked low, as if some primal part of him already understood that what I'd brought home wasn't meant to exist here. I laid her on the bed, heart pounding harder than it had in years. Her blood, if you could call it that, was red, yes, but threaded with veins of gold that shimmered faintly, like liquid starlight pulsing to its own rhythm. She didn't look alien. She looked human, just too perfect. And that was somehow worse. I reached for my first aid kit, knowing full well a roll of gauze and a bottle of isopropyl would not do a damn thing. Still, instinct is a stubborn thing. I was halfway through cleaning her wounds when she opened her eyes. Purple light filled the room. Not reflected, emitted. Her gaze locked on me, sharp and calm, like a soldier scanning for threats. Then her lips parted, and a single word came out, clear, confident, and terrifyingly normal. Kira. The voice didn't sound synthetic or distorted. It was human, too human, every syllable shaped with precision. "My name is Kira," she said, "and I need you not to panic, because this will sound insane. I'm not from this planet." She said it like a doctor delivering bad news, direct, steady, unblinking, and I just sat there, holding a blood-stained towel, wondering if maybe isolation had finally cracked me open from the inside. But Kira didn't smile. She didn't blink. She just watched me, as if she was waiting to see if I'd run. 3 hours later, she was sitting up in bed, eating raw venison straight from the fridge like it was fine dining. Her strength was coming back unnaturally fast. Every few seconds, her suit flickered with faint purple lines that pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. "I come from a system you catalog as HD 85512, she said between bites. "I was a geneticist, until my government decided to weaponize my research." She looked down, then back at me. "I stole what they created, and ran." I didn't speak. Didn't interrupt. Some part of me believed her, without logic, without evidence. It was instinct, like remembering something I'd never lived. She leaned forward. "They're hunting me, and now, they'll come for you too." Her purple eyes dimmed slightly, almost human for a moment. "But I can protect you, if you help me." I asked the only question that made sense. "Why me?" Kira hesitated, studying me with an expression that was almost sorrow. "Because your DNA," she said softly, "isn't entirely human." By the third morning, the silence in the mountains was gone. The air vibrated with a faint mechanical hum, a sound that didn't belong to nature. When I stepped outside, rifle in hand, I saw them. 3 black helicopters slicing through the dawn mist, unmarked, silent except for the whisper of rotor blades. They hovered over the crash site like vultures circling a corpse. Kira was already at the window. "They found the ship," she whispered, her eyes reflecting the pale light, "and they'll trace it here soon." The calm I'd seen in her before was gone. Now she looked afraid. "Who are they?" I asked. "Your people," she said softly. "Government divisions that have been studying my kind for 30 years. They call us biological anomalies. We call them hunters." That word hit harder than I wanted it to. Within 10 minutes, we were packing whatever essentials I could grab: food, gear, ammunition, and the strange crystalline device Kira refused to leave behind. Ash barked anxiously, sensing the coming storm. The first explosion came seconds later. The cabin, my home, erupted in flames as rockets tore through the walls. Didn't even look back. 4 years of solitude went up in fire and smoke, and I felt nothing. Only movement. Only survival. We ran through the forest, stumbling over roots and rocks, the sound of helicopters growing louder behind us. "I need to get back to my ship," Kira said between breaths. "My technology. Without it, the hybrid dies, and my species dies with it." "Hybrid?" I asked, gasping as we climbed a steep ridge. Kira didn't answer. She just kept moving. From the ridge, I saw the crash site again, now surrounded by floodlights and soldiers. White tents and armored vehicles filled the clearing, like an alien autopsy set in motion. Kira's hand gripped my arm. "We're going in." I stared at her. "You've lost your mind." Her violet eyes narrowed. "No, I've lost time." That ass, when she reached into her suit and pulled out a small sphere, pulsing with soft light. She placed it in my palm. "It will hide your thermal signature," she said. "They'll see only the trees." It sounded like pure fiction, but at that point, fiction was safer than logic. Minutes later, we ambushed a lone soldier stepping behind a tree to relieve himself. I hit him with the butt of my rifle. Kira placed her hand on his neck. His body froze mid-motion, eyes wide, paralyzed but alive. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "This will wear off." I slipped into his uniform. It stank of sweat and fear, and walked into the floodlit camp as if I belonged there. Inside the red ship, under blinking alien symbols and sterile light, I found it. A silver cylinder, thrumming faintly like a heartbeat. Kira's hybrid. I didn't have time to think. The alarm screamed, gunfire erupted, and as I ran into the trees, bullets cutting the air behind me, one truth hit me harder than fear ever could. Whatever was inside that cylinder was alive.
We didn't stop running until the forest swallowed the last echo of gunfire. By the time we found shelter, a narrow cave behind a frozen waterfall, my shoulder burned where a bullet had grazed me. Kira, pale and trembling, clutched the cylinder like a mother protecting her unborn child. Inside the cave, firelight flickered against the stone walls, dancing over the alien metal that pulsed softly in her hands. I sat in silence, trying to understand what had just happened. The chase, the firefight, the impossible technology humming like a heartbeat. Kira finally spoke. "I need you to know the truth, Elias. You deserve that much." She placed the cylinder on the ground. The air shimmered, and a holographic projection unfurled above it. Strands of glowing DNA spiraling into intricate patterns, half blue, half violet. "This," she said, "is why your DNA is compatible with mine." I frowned. "What do you mean, compatible?" Her eyes softened. "Because you're not entirely human." The words landed like a slow explosion. Kira touched the hologram and new images appeared. Red ships descending over Earth's skies 30 years ago, scientists in hazmat suits, and human infants being injected with shimmering fluid. "You were one of them," she said. "The first experiment. Human children modified with our genome, returned to their families without their knowledge. Dormant hybrids. Until now." My breath caught. Memories came rushing back. Childhood fevers that nearly killed me. The way I could sense storms before they came. The constant, unexplainable feeling that I didn't belong among my own species. It all made sense now. It wasn't a recluse because I hated people. I was hiding from what I didn't understand inside me. The cylinder pulsed brighter, drawing both our eyes. Inside, an embryo floated in amber liquid, its tiny form shifting between human and translucent. Luminous purple veins glowed beneath the skin, alive, growing fast. "She's merging the best of us," Kira whispered, voice trembling. "Human adaptability with my people's resilience. But she's draining me in the process." Her skin was already changing, dark veins spreading beneath her neck like roots of ink. She coughed, a wet, metallic sound. "I stole this technology to save my world," she said, "but now it's killing me." I wanted to argue, to offer help, but I could see it in her eyes. The acceptance, the quiet peace of someone who knew their purpose was almost complete. Kira looked at me with something almost tender. "Elias, promise me one thing. If I don't make it, protect her. She's not just ours. She's the future of both species." The fire crackled softly, and outside, the first rays of dawn painted the ice in gold. I reached for her hand, still warm despite the fading light in her eyes. "I promise." Kira smiled faintly. "She's almost ready." The helicopters returned at sunrise. Their rotors tore through the quiet sky like metal thunder. The forest trembled with their approach. Kira was dying. The black veins now covered most of her pale skin, glowing faintly beneath the surface like cracked glass trying to contain light. Each breath was a battle, but her gaze stayed locked on the cylinder, and on me. "They're coming," I said, tightening my grip on the rifle. She nodded weakly. "Then it's time." She opened the cylinder. Inside floated the child, half human, half alien, its skin translucent, veins pulsing with soft purple light. The liquid drained, and the faint cry that followed wasn't human or alien. It was something new. Kira smiled faintly. "It's a girl." My throat tightened. "What do I do?" Kira reached for the crystalline device beside her. Everything she needs is in here. Her biology, our history, the map of others like you. 47 hybrids scattered across your continent. You're not alone, Elias. You never were. Outside, the sound of boots crunched through snow. The soldiers were closing in. Kira pressed the device into my hand, her fingers trembling. Go north, to the border. There's a community waiting. Others like you, preparing for what comes next. Her eyes dimmed, but her voice remained steady. Protect her. She is hope, and maybe redemption. I hesitated, tears freezing against my skin. What about you? Kira smiled. Faint, brave, heartbreakingly human. I'll hold them off. Then she turned toward the approaching soldiers, her body glowing brighter with each step. The purple light spread through her suit until she became pure radiance. The explosion that followed split the sky open. White, silent, blinding. When the light faded, she was gone. Only ash and drifting embers remained, falling like glowing snow. 3 days later, near the Canadian border, the child was born. I named her Stella. Star, because that's where she came from, and because her mismatched eyes, one gray like mine and one violet like Kira's, reflected both worlds she now carried. She didn't cry. She only looked at me, calm, ancient, aware, and in that gaze I saw Kira's sacrifice and humanity's next step. When the snow fell again, 3 figures appeared from the trees, silent, watching. I saw it in their eyes, the faint purple glow like mine, the other hybrids, the beginning of something greater. As Stella slept against my chest, her small hand clinging to my finger, I realized something undeniable. Humanity wasn't alone anymore, and maybe it never had been. If this story gave you chills, hit like right now. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because more epic HFY sci-fi stories are coming. Tales where humans don't just survive, they evolve. Tell me in the comments, would you trust an alien fugitive or turn them in?